I'm going to go over how to do a basic Punnett Square today. So in the Google Meet meeting, we watched a video clip about the Tennessee fainting goats. And Tennessee fainting goats basically like fall over when they get scared. They're pretty funny. So we were doing Punnett Squares about those goats today. So I have a problem here. So in myotonic goats, which is another name for those fainting goats, not fainting, big F, is dominant over fainting, little f. A homozygous recessive goat is mated to a heterozygous goat. Okay, so we have our two genes. We have our dominant one, which is not fainting, and our recessive one, which is fainting. And then we have the two parents. So our two parents here, so I'm going to highlight them, are a homozygous recessive goat and a heterozygous goat. So let's break those apart. Right, so the word homozygous means the same, and then recessive would be the recessive gene. So our homozygous recessive parent would have two of the same, and it's the recessive gene. So this parent would be little f, little f. And then we have a heterozygous goat. Heterozygous means different. So we're going to have two different genes or one of each of these. So this parent would be big F, little f. Now we're going to put the parents onto the outside of the square. So parent number one, so little f, I'm going to distribute those two alleles on top of the two columns. So I'm going to do little f, little f. And the reason I put it over the two columns is we are simulating what happens in meiosis. So this is representing the homologous pair, and when you pass on your traits to the kids can either get this little f or this little f. So we are simulating that in the Punnett square here. I'm going to put parent number two, all right, on this side, and I'm going to distribute their alleles on each row. So I'm going to put a big F here and their little f next to this row. So now that I have the parents on the square, I'm going to figure out what the possible kids could be. So for box number one, I am getting a little f from the top and a big F from the side. Right, so in the square, we are going to write big F, little f. So we always write the dominant gene first because that's the one that's going to take over if it's present. All right, this box, we are getting a little f from the top and a big F from the side. So this box would be big F, little f as well. For this third box here, I am getting a little f from the top and a little f from the side. So this combination would be little f, little f. And for this box here, I am getting a little f from the top and a little f from the side. So this one would also be little f, little f. Right, so these are the possible gene combinations that a kid could have from these goats. So now we're going to answer the questions on the side here. So for the genotypes, we are going to list the genotype combinations that we have in the square. So one of the combinations I got was big F, little f. And I got two of those. I also got the combination little f, little f. And I have two of those in the square. So these numbers should add up to 4 because we had 4 possible combinations in the square. So there's my genotypes. For phenotypes, that's the trait you have or what you look like. Right? So for these goats here, right, I have at least one of the dominant not fainting genes present in this gene combination. So that means there would be 2 not fainting goats. I'm just going to put not faint here. just because it's hard writing with a mouse. All right, and then over here, I have only fainting genes in this combination, and I have 2 of them. So that means I have 2 fainting goats. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do is I've asked for the probability of fainting goats, because those are the fun ones that fall over. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to make a fraction, and on the bottom is going to be 4, because we have 4 possibilities in our Punnett square. On the top, I've asked for fainting goats, so I just want the number of fainting goats from my phenotypes, so that would be 2. I can also write this as a percentage, so 2 out of 4 would be the same thing as 50%. So that would be my probability. So if I mated these 2 goats together, I have a 50% chance of getting a fainting goat from this cross. Let's try another one. So in myotonic goats, not fainting is dominant over fainting. So big F represents not fainting, little f would represent fainting. Right? 2 heterozygous goats are mated together. Right, so heterozygous means different, right? So that means that they're going to have 2 different genes or one of each of them. So their combination would be big F, little f, and that is going to be for both of our parents, since those 2 were mated together. So I'm going to distribute their alleles on the square. So I'm going to put parent number 1. I'm going to put their alleles above each column. And parent number 2, I'm going to put one of each of the alleles next to the rows. For this first combination, I get a big F from the top and a big F from the side. So I get big F in this square. For this possibility, I get a little f from the top and a big F from the side. So I'm going to write big F, little f. I put the big F first because it is the dominant gene. For the third box, I get a big F from the top and a little f. So I'm going to write big F, little f. And then for my last box, I get a little f from the top and a little f from the side. So that's going to be little f, little f. Okay, so now that I've completed my square, I'm going to answer these questions on the side. So for the genotypes, I'm going to look at my gene combinations that I got. So one combination I got was big F, and I got one of those. Another combination I got was big F, little f, and I have 2 of those. And then the last combination in the square is little f, and I have 1 of those. Right, so now let's talk about the phenotypes. Okay, so for this goat, this has not fainting genes only, so this would be a not fainting goat. For this goat, it has at least 1 not fainting gene, so these 2 would also be not fainting goats. So for my phenotypes, all right, I would have 3 not fainting goats. I'm just going to put 3 not here. Right, this one at the end, so only fainting genes would give me a fainting goat, and I have 1 of those. So I have 1 fainting goat in this square. Right, so my last question is the probability of getting a fainting goat. So I'm going to write a fraction. The bottom's going to be 4. And I have 1 fainting goat, so that's what goes on the top. So I have 1/4 here, or you can say that is 25%. 1/4, like 25 cents is a quarter. So if I have 1/4, that'd be 25%. So if I were to cross these two goats together, I have a 25% chance of getting a fainting goat. So that's how you do a basic Punnett square. Have a good day, everybody.